Hi, my name is Wilfredo Peña, and I'm from Class 1 in Boston, and therefore Fidelity is first class. I did my internship at Fidelity Investments, where I'm still employed today, along with many other Europe alumni. Around November 2020, a few of us came together and established Fidelity's Year Up Alumni Affinity Group. And as of August of this year, we have 54 members across 7 sites. I had an amazing experience with Year Up. I believe it's an amazing program. It's phenomenal. And it literally changed the course of my life. It placed me in a position where I had opportunities where I could showcase my potential. It helped me develop professionally and personally. It allowed me to create a professional network. So to me, I want to tell as many people in my community, my friends, and my family about the program and why these programs make such a positive impact in our community and the lives of many young, talented people who just need one chance, one opportunity to showcase their potential. So this is essentially my way to give back for what I was given. Hopefully, like I can inspire others in the way that I was inspired all those years ago. And most importantly, I keep getting inspired by the experiences and stories of others who I meet along the way. Essentially, an alumni movement now that it has become an alumni movement, something that I didn't realize was happening until recently, when you actually stop and think about and see what's going on. The energy in the place was something that I can't really describe. Everyone's smiling faces and just networking and talking. But that's something that I'm never going to forget. For me, that it was eye-opening. I've stayed connected to Year Up throughout the years. I've been involved on many levels. I've attended events and reunions, and I was, I was part of the local alumni board, and I keep in contact with the staff. And I kept hearing about how Year Up had expanded and how it was growing, and that they were opening a new site in New York and a new site in San Francisco, and the numbers, but it didn't really become real until I was in front of so many other alumni from all of these other sites. And essentially, everyone that was there is a small percentage of the entirety of everyone of that who has gone through the program, who have finished the program. So it just made it real. It put everything into perspective, and it actually helped me to stop and internalize the impact that it had on my life. Because to me, going through the program and going through the internship and then getting hired, it was just, to me, I just wanted to be in a better place. I wanted to have a career. I wanted to do better for my son and for myself and my family.
people need to understand something. The summit could have been an NCAA tourney, one and done situation. But to have it be that we were able to have a second and that it came home to Boston, the city of champions, was out of this world. I was so blessed and so excited that y'all was going to be able to come to where I live. And, you know, like I said, come to the city of champions and have experiences like we had alums on the duck boats, man. All the champions that we've had, from Tom Brady through David Ortiz, they've all rode on those duck boats through the city and got mad love, and we were able to experience that. It was such an amazing, amazing time. The keynote speaker, Jonathan Sprinkles, man, dropped the mic. He had one of the most powerful speeches that we've had on the keynote side. And it was such a Boston-centric feel. I mean, that time, the Boston alum levels at the summits was so high that you couldn't help but still just have such a Boston feel. And I was just so excited and humbled that I could MC and have a big part in starting the movement off from the Alumni Summit standpoint in Boston. You know, I still get so emotional about those early summits like Boston because it was so much work. Like Shanique and I were still MCing and then, you know, doing a run of shows, had so many meetings leading up to it. And to me, I'm a big sports guy. The pressure of trying to make sure you deliver and have people really feel like they got something out of that experience and they really enjoyed themselves and they felt like it was worth their while. That was a big deal. So I know for me, for sure, I always try to make sure not only that I provide some sense of joy and inspiration, but also try to keep it real and hope that this was, you know, a powerful experience for everybody. Because I realized that some people were, you know, one and done or didn't get to experience another summit. So we always try to make sure that we gave it our all. We made sure, you know, we put the blood, sweat, and tears and literally the tears into, you know, making each summit, you know, the best that it could be. You know, people forget and don't remember that was the first time we had an alum and his team leading the videography side. Jelani Lynch and his team came together and did an amazing job recording, taking pictures, and doing a whole recap video. I remember, you know, pushing hard to try to have it and to see them doing their job while I'm emceeing and hosting was and it still is. It was one of the moments that will always stand out to me about how dope Boston was. Boston, another thing that stands out to me was we had a lot of OGs. So people think I'm an OG. We had people who graduated from class 1 all the way, you know, to before I started. And we had them presenting on a panel. I'll never forget. And it was such a moment where some of the newer grads or people who just hadn't been involved with Europe as long as some of us older heads, it was like a lighting of the torch. It was like that, you know, igniting of that energy and that movement that we've all been blessed to continue to be a part of today. But that was like the lighting of that fire inside of us to say there are more of us across the country. There are more of us who deserve an opportunity. And we sparked that in Boston. And I think that's what really opened up the door to lead us to summer number 3 in the Big Apple.
I'm Katrina Hill-Gay, a January 2012 graduate of the National Capital Region, and I have recently completed my term as the National Alumni Board Chair, or NAA Board. With the 2014 Alumni Summit in New York, we had so many great and wonderful moments that happened as a part of that. So first we had our first ever talent show. allowing the opportunity for our alums to really just being able to get together and showcase whatever talents they wanted to share. For some of us like me, it was our first time in learning how to ride the subway system in New York, which is really, really great. I think a few of us got lost maybe one or two times, but also had some really great tour guides from the New York site that were willing to help us to kind of get around and make sure we didn't get lost riding the subway or end up somewhere we shouldn't have been. And then we had a really, really awesome bus tour that we took. So we had the opportunity to go really just across the city and be able to see a lot of the touristy things that make New York City, New York City. But it was more than just the glitz and glamour that you got to see on movies and on television. And so for a lot of our alumni who don't get the opportunity to travel outside of their hometowns, or they've never really been anywhere before, this again was a really great opportunity to showcase another kind of Europe location and where our students come from or the environments that they live in. So while we were planning the third summit, there was something really magical and special that was happening in the background. We had a cross-site team of alumni from the 11 sites that we had at the time, along with some staff support from Europe, to really be able to kind of sit down and look out 10 years into the future and say, where do we want to be and just who are we? This was the concept that laid down the foundation for the National Alumni Association. This 10-year vision that was created ultimately led to us being able to create the Alumni Strategy, which is affectionately known as the Alumni Act. And this was formally introduced to the Alumni Association in 2015. The Alumni Planning Group came up also with the concept of the National Alumni Association Board. And so we decided that there were these local boards that were created on the local level, and we wanted folks to have a platform to be able to kind of elevate on a national level the successes, the challenges that were happening within their sites, being able to also give folks an opportunity and spaces to be able to share with one another what was going on, resources, how can we be helpful. And so it was a really great idea, again, to keep building upon the idea of 1 year up and what we are looking to accomplish for just making sure that our alumni feel connected to one another. So at the New York Summit, this is when we formally launched the National Alumni Association, as well as the board. We also had an entrepreneur workshop that was led by hairstyle celebrity Keith Campbell. And this was a huge highlight to one of the things that we were able to offer to our alums for the summit. This was the first time that we decided to focus on a little bit of a different aspect of alumni success. So most people think of alumni success and they think about the folks that are working in the tracks that Europe offers, IT, finance, biz ops at the time. And so we have alumni who graduate from the program and decide that they want to go own their own businesses. Sometimes they are in the same tracks that we offer at Europe. And then in other instances, it's things like they want to be photographers or they want to be consultants. And so being able to hear from the folks on this panel the successes that they've had as entrepreneurs, but the challenges that they also face as entrepreneurs, the advice that was given, and really being able to tell people, if this is something you're interested in, then go ahead and go pursue your dream, was really just amazing. One of the best panels that we had with the summits at that time. And so The success of this workshop really was just instrumental in how we started to think about future panels for the summits later on down the road. And really happy to say that the Entrepreneur Workshop is something that we continue to offer our alums, but we've also taken it a step further with different resources and partnerships that we've built with companies, and being able to just provide our alums more than just a panel that we offer once a year at the Alumni Summit.
I've had the great good fortune to be part of Europe since 2001, where I got to know Will Pena and the rest of the first class. It was truly a highlight of my life. Later on, I also served as Greg Walton's program manager. It's been such a pleasure to see all that Greg and Will and our many alumni have accomplished, not only in their careers in education, but in service to others. As if that wasn't enough good fortune for one person, I also had the honor of being the founding member of the Alumni Relations team. We always highly valued alumni, but what was starting to change at this time, with a big push from Greg and Shanique, was starting to think of our alumni more on a national level, rather than primarily as graduates of individual sites. We were really starting to see the power of alumni as a collective force for change, and the summit was a catalyst for that. Along with the launch of the NEA and the NEA board, a big highlight for me at the third summit was hearing from Phil Gross. Phil shared some personal experiences and how mentoring really helped him at a critical time in his life. He pledged his support for our alumni work, which was wonderful to hear. And he also issued a challenge to us in terms of focusing more on our alumni community service. And it was really that challenge that led to our alumni service project and the alumni action grants. I had a lot of fun working with alumni leaders and other staff members to plan the New York Summit. And as usual, the alumni creativity and commitment led to a great event. Looking back on it, there were a few growth areas that I remember to this day. Growth area number 1, never ever choose a hotel that's scheduled to open 6 months before your event date, because that could turn into 5 months, then 3, and eventually 1 week before the event. Growth area number 2, by all means have a talent show, but please vet the performances, especially if you're going to have them at a law firm during work hours. Under advice of counsel, I can say no more of this. And growth area number 3, our alumni embrace all of our core values, especially work hard and have fun. So do expect a lot of complaints about noise from the hotel. The turn up was real. After the summit, we received wonderful news. Europe was going to invest even more in our alumni. Rhonda Thompson joined us as our national director, and she brought a wealth of experience and wisdom to that role. But it was really her vision for alumni leadership that has had lasting impact. Once Rhonda had joined, we started to commonly use phrases like alumni-led and staff-supported, the alumni vision, and also alumni are our largest stakeholder group. And it was great to hear that echoed throughout the alumni community. I think what's really been cool to see is that our alumni work became a specific part of our organizational strategy, and that remains true today.
Year Up Alumni. I am thrilled that we're celebrating our 10th Alumni Summit this year. I feel so grateful to have the opportunity to know so many of you and have a front row seat to your leadership around the country.
Thank you for all that you do and for the inspiration. You know, your work fills me with a sense of possibility that we can actually close this opportunity divide together.
It has been a true pleasure to watch the alumni movement grow and gain steam and momentum and strength over the last 10 years. I want to send you a huge congratulations for the 10-year anniversary of this summit.
I'm so inspired by all of you, and I look forward to continuing to work together to close the opportunity divide. Congratulations.
And I hope you all have a great time together, learning and growing and connecting with each other. Wish I could be with you.
So congratulations once again, and have a fun time at your summit.
Thanks for all you do. Enjoy the summit, and I hope to see you in person soon.
When I think back to the fourth National Alumni Summit, I think about my introduction to the alumni body as the first National Director of Alumni Relations. Prior to 2015, we did not have a national alumni team, and this was really important because it signaled to our alumni that they were an important stakeholder group. They were the largest stakeholder group in our investment in alumni through the creation of the alumni relations team and an executive level person in need to be able to spearhead that effort really showed the alumni that there was a real commitment to supporting them and all that they could accomplish as graduates of the program. So one of the voices that I think that was so clearly present at the Providence Summit was David Heredia. David was the keynote speaker for the Providence Summit. The alumni invited David to come and speak. And as David talked about like himself as the spark for Year Up, one of the things that became really clear in that moment was that while David was the spark, the inspiration, the vision and the long-term vision for what Gerald saw was actually being actualized through the alumni movement. And when I think back to the Origins video, which we've heard so many times at Year Up orientation weeks across the network, Gerald talked about David as like the catalyst for the movement, but the vision was really about alumni. And as we all gathered in Providence, that really came to life in a way that it hadn't for us before. And that really, I think, crystallized this concept that alumni really are going to help to get us to that vision that we have to close the opportunity divide, and that they were such a big part of that movement. And so it really became crystallized there. I think other voices that were really prevalent were just alumni leaders. I think about Katrina Hill, who's now Katrina Hill Gay, and stepping in as the chair of the National Alumni Association, and just her leadership and presence was really so prevalent there. I think too, Byron, who was the first NAA event committee chair, and just all the work and the foundation that they laid. And so many alumni voices come to mind. And even thinking back to our graduates from Class 1 who were there, who came out to support. And when we think about alumni lifting while they climb and like standing on the shoulders of those that came before them, that was really important in that Providence event. So when I stepped into my role, one of the things that I said then, and I continue to say now, is that the alumni made my job so easy, because the strategy, which we now refer to as the Alumni Act, and alumni advancement, how they contribute back to the success of Europe, and how alumni take action in the movement to close the opportunity divide. That strategy was developed by alumni for alumni with support from a staff team. And so as I stepped into the role in 2015, while there was no infrastructure that was there, and really the role that became mine and the team's to do was to really build the infrastructure to help to support this vision of a strategy that was alumni led and staff supported. And so the blueprint was laid out for me by alumni, and then it was really our job to make that come to life by creating the infrastructure to support it and ultimately elevating the alumni voice within Europe. And so I think that's the thing that I was most excited about, is partnering with alumni to make that happen. When I think about the connection between alumni and students, one of the things that I've always said since I joined Europe back in 2007 was everything that we do within the 11 months of the program is in service of what happens the day interns become graduates of the program. And so the Providence Summit really created an opportunity for us to cement that connection from outreach to outcomes when we think about that, and having the students come in and to see not just alumni from their site, but for alumni from all over the country. And there were 8 sites at that time. It really let the Providence student body see that this was really a movement, and this was something bigger than just what was happening in Providence, Rhode Island. And that really helped alumni to see the power that they had to lift while they climb, and just to really be ambassadors of the program. And so that really became clear through that connection with students and alumni at the Providence event. So in Providence, what we started to do was really started to cement this concept of an alumni movement, and really alumni having the voices to impact change. And that was actualized in the Baltimore event, where we started to connect our movement to present day movements and to social movements of the past. And alumni really started to think about the power that they had and how they could really bring their collective voices together to enact change. And so going into Baltimore with everything that was happening in the country at that time, and then having the fortune of connecting with DeRay McKesson from the Black Lives Matter movement, it really helped our alumni to see that their movement was so relevant to everything that was going on in our country. And so to see that leap from Providence to what took place in Baltimore, I really feel like opened up the doors for everything that we saw in the years to follow.
When I think about the Baltimore Summit, I know that alumni felt empowered by listening to DeRay McKesson speaking to them. And many of us left with a high level of energy to be active in our local communities. DeRay brought such an authentic presence while he was speaking to us, and he gave us real facts, and he provided us a level of clarity. And from there, the Europe alumni community saw an increase of involvement in social movements like DACA and Black Lives Matter. And as the alumni movement was constantly growing, we ensured that we were deeply connected with the larger social and economic movements such as Black Lives Matter, police injustice and brutality awareness, and many other campaigns for equality across the nation. The Summer of Service grants is where we were giving micro grants to alumni to host community service projects. The Summer of Service grants were highly successful and showed that alumni wanted to make a difference in their communities continuously. And this led to our program that we still have today called the Alumni Action Grants Program. And now that I think about it, not only was Advancing Together our theme for the 2015 summit in Baltimore, Maryland, it became our theme overall as we engaged in changing our communities across this nation.
Back in 2016, that was my second summit that I had planned. It's so funny how I even got there, because when the NAA first started, a lot of people don't know this. When the NAA first started in New York, there was no events committee chair. Now, all the other, let's not act like it was not a solidified role. It was a role, but nobody was in the role. And so it came down to a board retreat in Atlanta. A lot of people don't really know about that either. That solidified the NAA events chair, right? It's one of those things like you never know what you could possibly do or get until you just open your mouth and ask for it. And it was one of those things where when the events committee chair was brought to everyone's attention, I had no idea of what I was really getting myself into, but it was one of those things of this is what I wanted to do. Fast forward from 2014 to 2016, I'm sitting in this role as the events chair at the Baltimore Alumni Summit. Something that I never expected that would happen. But I'm sitting around these people I've never met before. I'm sitting around these people that are just as smart as I am. I'm sitting around these people that just has as much network as I am, and they're willing to help me to get to where I'm willing to get to. And then vice versa, I'm willing to help them get to where they need to get to. This was Baltimore Summit, right? Something that we never expected, but something that we knew was going to really be amazing from previous years of actually growing the summit. So 2015 was Providence, my first alumni summit that I hosted. And this was the jacket that I shout out to Katrina. She's my boss, or she's still my boss, but her and I kind of helped design these jackets. And this is actually this is my favorite alumni swag, right? From Providence, Rhode Island, 2015. If you have it, please wear it every now and then. We got that together, and the art team definitely helped us formalize that process. And that made things better, and that really set the tone for years to come. Baltimore was real special because of DeRay McKesson and the Black Lives Matter movement that we were definitely going through, and everyone felt that, right? The events committee and myself, we was actually trying to get together to figure out how we can actually get the keynote speaker. We was trying to actually have a good keynote speaker that everybody could resonate with, and DeRay McKesson, right? Everything that was going on at the time in the world, he was the right candidate to be our keynote speaker. So we brought him in. Definitely know that the alums definitely enjoyed him. Definitely enjoyed the experience. Baltimore was great. The hotel was right across the street from the pier, and so that was a beautiful view. Shout out to the art team helping us with those logistics, because the art team worked directly with the events committee to help us get those type of hotels and, having the best food to eat. Shout out to Sam. A lot of people don't talk about that as well. The people that actually work on the background. Shout out to Sam from the art team. She really took care of us when it came to that aspect of food and making sure that we were satisfied and And I don't know if I can say this, but some people definitely like took it for granted, right? But it was one of those things like we all was here to serve. Even from the art team to the events committee to the NAA board, we're here to serve. And that's the reason a lot of people say that after you graduate from the Europe program, your work doesn't stop. I mean, if you want to continue to serve, right? So that's also, to touch on that's one of the main reasons I joined the events committee. It didn't matter if I was the chair or not. I wanted to give back my service to something that gave me so much. And that's honestly why I did. I mean, yeah, the perks came with going to the summit, and you would definitely get to fly out and all that. That was perfect. That was fine. But the work, because I didn't show up to play, right? The work is what really, really drove. And to see the smiles, to see the faces, to get the satisfaction of the people that were there. To have people come up to say, yo, I really enjoyed this summit. Yo, how can I get to what I need to do to be a part of this? What I tell people all the time is to have a successful event is not about what you do or what you present to the people. It's about the way you make people feel. It's about what the people bring from that. And that's what I truly feel that the events committee, myself and the art team and Katrina and Dallas, the NAA board, we really brought that. We really brought something to you that you could not deny. Something that it really made you feel like empowered. And that's what we brought to the attention. And honestly, those were the days.
Man, 10 years, a decade.
I'm only 4 short months into my tenure here at Europe, but I've been so incredibly impressed with the amazing alumni of this organization.
Thanks so much for making the time to be here at the summit. Congratulations again on the 10 years of the Alumni Summit.
Congratulations on 10 years of the Alumni Summit. Such an incredible accomplishment. We are so grateful for all you do as you continue to lift while you climb.
I am excited about what you guys are doing, what you have done, and what you're going to continue to do to help us close the opportunity divide. Congrats.
I and we support our alumni and look forward to how each of you will continue to drive the movement to both close the opportunity divide and also to lift while you climb.
And I cannot wait to see what the next 10 and many, many more years bring as you continue to have such a profound impact on the opportunity divide.
Again, thank you, dig in, and we look forward to hearing all the great things that come out of the summit.
And I can't wait to see what you all have in store as you continue to help us close the opportunity divide for our young adults.
Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you so much for all that you do.
The Alumni Summit, hosted in Dallas, Texas, is significant for a multitude of reasons. The alumni logo and website were unveiled. Fireside Chats, which featured a member of the newly formed Dallas Alumni Board, was also introduced. It was the first presentation of the annual U-Pro Check to support alumni work, and we hosted our first ever service project. We had the opportunity to work with 3 different partners: the Ronald McDonald House of Dallas, who serves families of children with medical challenges, Promise House and Family Gateway, both of whom serve youth experiencing housing challenges, and were able to support more than 400 youth and young adults. Leading the service project has held a special place in my heart because it serves as an example of our strength in numbers as alumni. If this is the impact we can have in a room of 300, imagine the impact we can have with now more than 20,000 and growing alumni across the nation. Because of the visible impact we had on the alumni movement in Dallas, service projects will become a regular feature of future summits. This also marked the first year we announced next year's summit location. We will be on our way to Philadelphia.
My name is Gina Allen, and I joined the Alumni Relations team in 2017 as the events director supporting Byron and the events committee to plan and manage the summit and other events. During the 2017 summit in Dallas, I worked closely with Shantae, who was the lead for the service project. After that, we headed on into Philadelphia. There were a few notable things about the 2018 summit in Philly. The alumni planning the event decided they wanted to do more to affect community change by deepening their understanding of advocacy and voting. They brought in an awesome keynote speaker, Bakari Sellers, a highly respected political commentator, lawyer, and former South Carolina state representative. Bakari spoke to the importance of alumni lifting their voices as young people. At the time, he was the same age as many in the room, and his message resonated very strongly with them. The work Bakari was doing nationally was a model for alumni to build their own movement. He also participated in a voting workshop, adding to their skill set. On top of this, they implemented another amazing service project, again led by Shantae. For the annual group photo, the alumni selected a place we're all familiar with, the Rocky Stairs at the Philadelphia Museum of Art. Felt a bit metaphorical, thinking about the lyrics playing while he's climbing the stairs, trying hard now, growing strong now, and thinking about how Europe alumni are taking action to make an impact on this country, on opportunity youth and those looking to engage opportunity youth. The photo was iconic, and beyond that, the alumni bonded even further on those stairs. It was an amazing sight to see. We also added another event component that year. You heard Mac McCann talk about the challenge issued by Phil Gross for alumni to deepen their connections to community. To recognize their progress, visible in our National Alumni Action Grants program that Dallas referenced earlier, they celebrated the first annual winner of the Gross Family Service Award. Erica Johnson, a Philadelphia alumna, won the first award for her significant service work throughout the year to really make her mark within her community. Finally, 2018 gave us another opportunity to have a full circle moment. Katrina talked earlier about the Great Entrepreneurship Panel at the Third Summit in New York. Erica Johnson, who also happens to be an entrepreneur, she owns a cake bakery, helped to announce the 2019 Alumni Summit location by baking a 3-tiered cake with a skyline for the next location where we were heading. We were finally on our way to Atlanta.
The most anticipated summit of all time. There's no, hands down, there's no questions or debates. When you say from the last summit in Philly that we're going to the ATL, man, are you kidding me? Atlanta? That was the most heavily requested site to have a summit at. People were excited. I mean, my phone was blowing up. People were trying to say, how can I get to this summit? I'm flying there regardless. Get me on the list. I'm sneaking it, whatever. People were trying to make sure that they got to this summit. And man, what a summit. The energy in that room, 300 plus of us. Man, I remember I was in tears just because of how momentous it was to have that many young adults from this program in that room. It was amazing. And then you lead off with the MCs, Byron coming to his home state, and then my peoples from Boston, Jody. You got the big homie, you know, and then you got Jody, who's the woman empowerment leader amongst the alumni community, and to have it that they brought that session back at the Atlanta Summit was so dope. You can't help but think about another iconic session, the My Brother's Keeper, which has become one of the most active groups that I've seen on social media as far as trying to keep our brothers together, holding each other accountable, building each other up. That was another incredible session at the Atlanta Summit. Wow. You start going down the list of how many iconic moments. One that everybody, if you was in the building, you knew. When you had Byron and Gerald and the whole room swag surfing at the same time, I mean, I still get chills reminiscing about that moment. I will never forget that. When we talk about sheer presence on stage, when we heard rumors and some murmuring going on that a guy by the name of Van Jones may be a speaker at the Atlanta Summit during the summit, and he comes on stage, when you want to talk about crickets, that man dropped the word on us. And I say drop the word because it almost felt like church. I'm serious when I say it. When Van spoke, everybody was listening, and he gave such a powerful message of what it is to not just be there, but think about how you can get to the point where you own, when you're in control, when you're in power, and where the power really lives. And then you had the second female keynote speaker in Alumni Summit history, Angelina, and just her representing a whole nother movement of what it is to be a woman, trailblazing in your own right. I think that was so powerful to have her present. The Service Project. Now, y'all know the Service Project is my baby. I love the ability to come together and serve with as many people as possible. And this specific one, working with Together We Rise, who is an organization founded to support foster youth. Me being a product of the foster care system, this touched my heart really closely as we built bikes and skateboards, and I honestly learned how to ride my first bike in foster care. So I was really emotional during this time and looking across the room and seeing that we had all of us engaged, excited about it, to have Ruth Bowen's kids testing out the bikes. Certainly moments I'll never forget. The energy in that room was so dynamic, so crazy. The Atlanta, alumni president, Demetrius, a fellow Patriots fan, man, he set such a tone of what it is to be in Atlanta that for me will last a lifetime. Everything about coming to Atlanta and experiencing that many of us together without having the perspective of knowing that that would be the last time or last event that we've been able to have in person, really makes me appreciate this that much more. That, man, you had to be there. You had to be there, which is why I know some of y'all who wasn't supposed to be there might have been there, because it was a moment. It was a moment. And I that's really much, that's all I can really say. It was a moment where you had to be there to know. It can't be duplicated. It can't be recreated. You had to be there to know that Atlanta is a special place. And I'm saying that, and I'm a Boston guy. I love Atlanta. And you know me, I'm all about the Waffle House, sugar on my grits. And Atlanta definitely gave us all of that and some. So I'm hoping at some point, some years down the line, we can get back to Atlanta, because Atlanta was where it was at, and you had to be there.
So when I think to the Atlanta Summit, there are a few things that come to mind to me that really stand out. I think the first is just the energy and the buzz that was created around both the alumni network, but also within the Year Up network, around bringing this event to our first city in the South. And that was really it was so like front and center from not just the largest event that we had to date, but also the number of alumni who came who weren't officially a part of the summit, but who just wanted to be in the city and to be a part of it. I also think about how we opened up that event, and you can't be in the A without bringing a little swag. And so as the alumni started the event, and there's this like swag surf that takes over the ballroom, and then to look up front and to see Gerald like swag surfing with the alumni, it just like set the tone for everything that happened afterwards. But I think about the venue we were in, and that Van Jones just happened to be in the venue. And so anyone who knows Gerald has a plan. And so we found out where Van was. We ambushed him on the escalator. We got Van to give us his cell phone number, which I actually still have in my phone today. And so Gerald's like, here's my number, and if you can't reach me, here's Rhonda. And then he was like, okay, keep calling him. And so for Van to come in, and for him to look around the room, and for him to see just the faces of the young people in the room, and the power that they had and how special that moment and that opportunity was. That was just one of those things that, like, you just can't make magic like that. And that's one of the other things I think that stood out for me. I also think about where we were in the history of our country, and the voices of young adults were starting to rise up in a way that we saw with like the movements in the 60s and early 70s in this country. And as we were going into an election season, our young adults started to think about the power of their voices and how they could use their voices to impact change, not just for Year Up, but also in their communities. And so that was the magic that took place in Atlanta in 2019. And I think the icing on the cake for that year was to announce that we were going to be taking the 2020 summit to Boston, back to Boston for the 20th anniversary of Year Up. And while the events of 2020 didn't pan out the way we all had hoped they would because of the impact of COVID-19, it showed the resilience of our organization, and most importantly, I think it spoke to the resilience of our young adults, and I think to the students, and having to take the program virtual 100% in the matter of days, and then having to move our annual alumni event, which had really become like a family reunion where you got to bring everyone together in person, to take that event to a virtual gathering. It took a lot of effort. And again, that effort, I think, just spoke to the resiliency of the organization. And when we had the summit in September and it was a virtual event, that same magic and that same engagement and that same support that we saw from alumni at those in-person events, it was just as prevalent, if not more, in the virtual event. And so while 2020 was definitely brought us lots of valleys, when I think to like one of the highlights and the peaks of 2020, I think to the virtual summit, and it's one of the things that will definitely always go down in my heart as one of the highlights of a year that didn't have a lot of like bright spots in it. When I reflect back over the last 10 years of the National Alumni Summit, and I remember attending the first summit in Washington, D.C. as executive director in the host city market, and then I fast forward 4 years to Providence and serving as Europe's first national director of alumni relations. And now, as I prepare for my transition into the next phase of my Europe life, I am excited about what the Year Up movement has in store. I think what we've seen over the course of these last 10 years is that the alumni movement is strong. I think it is clear to everyone that it is imperative that we continue to invest in alumni, because alumni really are the proof point that the Year Up model works. And we've seen that through alumni giving back to Year Up. We've seen that through alumni getting elected to public office. We've seen that through alumni engaging in their communities and lifting while they climb and helping to make the lives of others better. We've seen that through the thousands of students who've been referred to the program by alumni. And as I think to the future, I know that the movement is only going to get stronger and bigger, because our alumni base is only going to get stronger and bigger. And I know that the future of alumni is so very bright, and I just can't wait to see what the next 10 years has in store. Congratulations on 10 years of the National Alumni Summit, and I look forward to celebrating 20 with you in the next 10 years.
Congratulations to all of you on 10 years of amazing national alumni summits. As alums of this program, I know in my heart that you are the ones who will ultimately bring that vision to reality of closing the opportunity divide, of making this country more equitable. You are the ones who will lead us to that place where we will be happy to pass on this country to our children, because you will have made it more inclusive, more equitable, with opportunity accessible to that many more individuals. The alumni movement at Year Up is powerful. You are driving forward something in your lifetime which matters. And on the 10th anniversary of the National Alumni Summit, I honor each one of you and am so proud to be on this journey with you and to salute the leadership that you bring each and every day. Thank you so much, and be well.
Roberto, Bob, as many of us refer to him, was the very essence of duty, ambition, and hard work. The son of Mexican immigrants, he rose from a working class upbringing to becoming highly regarded leading executive with an expansive corporate career in top Forbes companies. He was an inspirational leader, a champion of enhancing organization and leadership, talent development, and empowering leaders. His journey certainly didn't lack its challenges. He earned his bachelor's degree working full-time, then did 3.5 years worth of school work in 2 years to earn his master's degree, also working full-time, all while raising a very young child. And he had to fuel it himself in order to exceed. At the time Bob began his career, he shared that he had to give up a lot of himself in order to be socialized, competitive, and successful in a culture that was not his native one. That has changed now due to demography and a lot of other reasons. However, he took that opportunity in his career and thought of it as an advantage. He had the ability to think, conceptualize, and solve, given his ability to think in 2 ways. Now it's possible for those who advance in their career that rather than assimilate, that they can actually be pretty powerful being who they are. In fact, he'd say it is our responsibility to accentuate the difference and to be really, really good at what we bring, because the whole world is screaming for people of multicultural skills and global skills. I'm sure it hasn't been easy for you, and you've had to face perhaps many challenges. But as the wise man Bob was, he often said, leadership happens when you're faced with enormous challenge. You have to turn every challenge you encounter into a new opportunity. This is what separates leaders, those who can seize opportunity and lead in these exciting and bountiful times. Bob cared passionately about mentoring, especially youth and young adults, and took any chance he had to inspire and empower them through his journey and experience, telling them that things are possible. But it has to start with hard work. And then you have to raise your hand when new and or difficult assignments come along. And you have to practice doing this a lot. He would then become your #1 fan, cheering you on. Bob was someone you wanted by your side to strategize, to mull things over, to help you find your way forward. Prior to Bob's passing, he had been a partner at the Blackstone Group Portfolio Operations and an early leader of the Career Pathways Initiative, and supportive of Year Up's mission to close the opportunity divide to provide underserved young adults with career advancement opportunities. We were incredibly moved when we learned of Blackstone's collaboration with Year Up in establishing the Roberto Llamas Fund to honor Bob's memory and honoring his life achievements. And we're deeply grateful to all of those who were inspired to give and continue his legacy. This award defines Bob's very essence as a leader, his values, and the kind human being that he was. His children, Haley, Matthew, and Scott, carry his values with them every day as the Llamas. You here today carry the torch to honor his values through your leadership. If Bob were here today, he would tell you how tremendously proud you should be of all that you have accomplished. You've earned it. You worked hard for it. But there is more to be done. Keep achieving your goals and help your organization achieve theirs, while continuing to build on a reputation for business excellence, innovation, and leadership performance. The opportunity is in front of you. Be at the forefront and know that initiative and merit always matter. Anytime, anywhere, always. And now, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce you to the inaugural class of 18 inductees into the Roberto Llamas Year Up Alumni Hall of Fame.
I mean, I still get chills.
The first thing that comes to mind, they are like living those Year Up core values even today.
Every year we wanted to make better, right?
With a really high level of energy.
Everybody, if you was in the building, you knew it was such an amazing, amazing time.
They play hard and they have fun.
The Year Up alumni community.
Man, drop the mic.